welcome everybody, and hopefully this will be helpful in your understanding of what's been happening with waste management in Mumbai over the past 25, 30 years. And we'll basically be examining the recent Kanjurmarg dumping ground order, but I will also be intertwining it with a lot of other developments in the waste management space. And we'll try to make sense of it in the next hour or so. So, this is what, in a sense, this development is what triggered the this webinar. And on the left, what you see is the Times of India headline on 2nd of May 2025, where the Bombay High Court, which was hearing a PIL on Kanjurmarg dumping ground, which is currently the largest dumping ground in the city, taking 3,000 tons or more of waste on a daily basis. And that PIL was filed in 2013. The proceedings went on for very long. And after 12 years, the Bombay High Court, in all its wisdom, ordered that and accepted the petitioner. The petitioner in this case is Vanashakti, Stalin representing Vanashakti. It accepted the petitioner's claim that this was ecologically fragile area, mangroves or salt pans at one point of time, which is before 2012 when BMC started dumping. And it ordered the dumping ground to be closed. It also ordered the government of Maharashtra to restore the protected forest status of that same dumping ground, situated on almost 120 hectares of land. That 120 hectares of land used for Kanjur dumping ground should be declared as a protected forest. And within 3 months, the dumping ground should be closed and mangroves restored. And I was left aghast when I read that. I've stopped reading papers, kept away from it, but that particular day I had to read it. And I called up Swati immediately and expressed my disappointment and that the court order was not tenable at all. That you just cannot. I mean, it is accepting 3,000 tons every day. Over a year, you can do your math and how much of waste is reduced. And already over 10 years, it has been doing that. And suddenly, to say that you order it shut without giving any alternative is ridiculous and not tenable. And so on the right hand side, you see the headline on 2nd of August, which is 3 months down the line, because BMC immediately approached the Supreme Court. And exactly what I had spoken in May happened, that the Supreme Court reversed the order of the Bombay High Court. And it said that currently there is no alternative, and it permitted the Bombay Municipal Corporation to continue its waste management operations at Kanjurmarg. And so it raises numerous questions, which I'm raising in this webinar, that just how can the High Court declare a complete ecological ruin of a site as a protected forest? I mean, we understand that it had ecological value 20 years back, and I will discuss it in the subsequent slides. But what is the status right now of that 120 hectares? It's a big, huge amount of garbage. It is running something called as a bioreactor facility, which would be a separate long topic of discussion. I'm not getting into it. The stench from this facility pervades the neighboring 5 square kilometers. And the same headline is saying that it is also the city's only active landfill. So where does all of that waste go? City has a long trajectory of creating new dumping grounds, and I, amongst a small group of people, have been completely opposed to this whole idea of creating new dumping grounds. Because right now, you're trying to make Kanjur into a project protected forest. But where will the next site be? It will be somewhere on the forest because this is a coastal city, and everything around is the sea. And the next bone of contention is really with the media, that why does it just cover the development? Like I mentioned in the previous slide also, if you look at on the left, that when that headache article came in May, there was an ecstatic mood in the newspaper article, as if some big environmental victory has taken place. But shouldn't there be a space within that same article or within that same commentary questioning the Bombay High Court development? It was taken at the absolute truth and something great. And the third point really is that everybody in this whole field, the Bombay High Court, the petitioner, Swati herself and a lot of other people in Times of India know the whole 25-year trajectory of Bombay's waste management, and how can such seasoned people get be trying for these kind of orders. These kind of orders are essentially a waste of time and resource. And this is another headline, which is from Hindustan Times again on 2nd or 3rd of May. And it boldly says in the headline, "Restore mangrove forest at Kanjur dump in 3 months." I mean, what? I mean, this is, I'm showing a picture of a healthy mangrove forest. And do you think from a dumping ground, which you can see in that photograph with earth moving equipment, uh, you can transform it into 3 months? Or I'm saying even 3 years, even it might take 30 years. I mean, even if you were to start working today to restore it. This is also an interesting picture because this is a Lokanwala complex on the left hand side on the top. If you see that gash, it is a transit dumping ground which was created in September 2001. And I've been opposing it since that time. And through our efforts, we were able to see these mangrove forests. So this is the whole idea that you cannot do this kind of a thing in 3 months. Now, just because a lot of people will not be aware, I'm just taking. I've been part of the efforts to stop the dumping ground at Kanjurmarg right when it was proposed in 2003-4 itself. This photo is taken by me from a neighboring tall building, showing how the exact Kanjurmarg dumping ground site looked in 2006. So it's absolutely flat, and there were hardly any mangroves. We walked on that site. After walking, we came to Kanjur village and took this photo from I think 7-story building. But you cannot see any mangroves on it. Till 2003, till 2000, it was a salt manufacturing site. There was a company which had a license from 1949 up till 2000. They were manufacturing salt over there. That was completely, I mean, we know that very high concentration of salt will not allow any vegetation to come. So there were no mangroves, there was no vegetation. It was a flat piece of land. And this is an image from April of 2012. If you see, so roughly you'll be able to get your bearings. You can see the Eastern Express Highway in the foreground in the middle. And over here you can see the Eastern Express Highway. Uh, this is when Bombay Municipal Corporation started dumping, flattening, and preparing the site to set up the Kanjur waste management facility.
So just for
These are photos
interjection,
from one.
if you can move your cursor off from the bottom is getting clipped because of the.
Sorry. Okay. Is this okay now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So again, these are photos from April 2012. You can see that boundary wall being connected. And you can see the Thane Creek behind, and you can see Navi Mumbai behind that. The skyline that you see is Ghansoli, Navi Mumbai. So this is all part of Thane Creek, which is already a ecological area of importance that has been declared as a Ramsar site, which gives prominent protection to wetland areas. And this is the kind of work which is happening. And this is again just 2006, 2012, and this is the site below. By September of 2012, the area had been completely devastated because after doing the earth filling activity, they also deposited huge amount of garbage. On the bottom right picture, you can see a lot of the compactor trucks bringing garbage, and it has already risen to a particular height. This is 2012. So I'm just using this map for people who might not be so familiar that in 2000, the Chincholi dumping ground, all the red dots are basically dumping grounds which are decommissioned, which are not active. And the red ones and the green ones are the ones which are still active, of which Deonar is also being phased out. And Kanjur is the biggest facility right now. And the other big bone of contention in the city has been that people staying in the eastern suburbs, especially Devnar, Chembur, are fed up of being treated as the dumping ground of Mumbai. They're saying the whole city's garbage cannot be brought to the eastern part of the city, and we are not generating all that waste, and we should not be subjected to that. So in 2000, Chincholi dumping ground in the western suburbs Goregaon shuts down. And 2003, after a series of deliberations between BMC, Supreme Court, and Salt Commissioner, this decommissioned salt pan land is allocated as an alternate as Mumbai's latest dumping ground. Now, I'll be covering Gorai, which is shown on the top subsequently. But Gorai closed down sometime in 2007 and 8. Similar story. Mahim, which you see below, closed down sometime in the 70s. And over there now stands the Mahim Nature Park, which was developed between 1984 and 1995. It was inaugurated. So I'm just, after having shown this map, I'm taking through a rough timeline. There are a number of other smaller events in between. 1999, Bankur Nagar Resident Association files a PIL, Chincholi dumping ground to be shut. 2000, Bombay High Court gives that particular order. BMC immediately escalates the matter to the Supreme Court and in 3 years manages to have land allocated at Kanjur, current land under dispute, on which the PIL was filed. And that same plot was allocated in 2003. This is also the time when a lot of us are very active in saving mangrove forests in Mumbai. I have been on the forefront of that efforts myself. Mangrove Society of India Mumbai chapter I co-founded with Praveen and Usha Kiran, and I was leading it for 10 years during that time. And in 2005, based on a PIL and by Bombay Environmental Action Group, the High Court gave a landmark judgment providing protection to all mangrove and tidal areas in Maharashtra, not just Mumbai. And one of the key features of that order was that every piece of land where mangroves were situated was supposed to be transferred from Revenue Department to Forest Department. As long as it was with Revenue Department, their job is to maximize revenue, and they would see it as a wasteland if there were mangroves, and it had to be reclaimed and put to some commercial or residential use. But the Bombay High Court said that the land will go from revenue to forest. It was that process immediately started. Now, as part of that order in 2008, if you see the timeline, the divisional commissioner brought all the land in Thane Creek, including Kanjur, under protected forest status. This is 2008. And 2003, BMC has already been allocated that particular land. But the divisional commissioner acting on the Bombay High Court order of 2005 just does all of this. But within 1 year, the government of Maharashtra realized the error. It said that the same plot of land in Kanjur cannot be allocated for a dumping ground and at the same time have a protected status, which means that by a certain law, provision in the law available, they went back and, so to say, corrected that error and removed this 140 hectares of land which was allocated for the Kanjurmarg dumping ground from the protected status. And this they did after approaching the courts and following a lot of due process. There is a legal provision which gives ample power to the government to recorrect any mistake in its orders. And that's a General Clauses Act, and that is what has been used by the petitioner. So the petition is available online. I would strongly recommend that everybody who's deeply interested in the subject should go through that long court order of 2nd of May. It is very simple English, but it is extremely enriching to build up knowledge. And so the government has removes that particular plot from the protected status. In 2009, in March 2009, BMC gets environmental clearance from MOEF that you can operate Kanjurmarg dumping ground facility over there. 2009 is also the time when Vanashakti I think is formed in 2008, and Stalin joined Vanashakti in 2009, and he stays in Bhandu, Nand Kumar, and so it was personal as well. But they intervene very strongly in this matter in 2009. By 2009, I am not so active on Kanjur. In fact, we fought a big battle on Devnar, which is a separate thing, exactly in 2009. So MOEF gives this environmental clearance. Stalin, Vanashakti strongly objects to it. As part of the process, they'll end up in uh, the National Green Tribunal. And long story short, in February 2010, even the National Green Tribunal, which is the appellate authority above the Bombay High Court, refuses to accept uh, this uh, contention of Vanashakti and rules in favor of the 2003 permission by Supreme Court allowing the dumping ground to operate over there. After this, I mean, I couldn't develop the timeline further. And after this, 2013 is when Vanashakti finally files PIL number 20 of 2013 in the Bombay High Court asking for intervention. So this is just in writing that, but I want to stress on the background and context through this slide that solid waste management has been recognized as a serious issue by the 90s. And 90s was a really vibrant decade in terms of numerous efforts by citizens and institutional efforts also to stop this whole practice of picking up all amount of mixed waste in our cities, whether from the streets or residents, and going and throwing it on a particular site which is designated as a dumping ground. It was amply clear in 90s that India did not have enough land to process the growing amount of waste which would be coming. We were still not in the era of online delivery and Zomato and Swiggy and the amount of packaging waste and food waste that comes out. This is still the 90s. In 1996, Almitra Patel filed a PIL in Supreme Court specifically on this issue, on which basis of which the Burman Committee report has been set up, and it submits that report in 99, exactly the year when Chincholi dumping ground PIL happens. This is the exact text from the 2nd May order, uh, which is, like I said, you can separately read it, but a very enriching piece of text that whole 50-page or 100-page order is. And this is how the Chincholi Bandar dumping ground gets shifted to Kanjur. 2004-6, there is considerable protest from local citizens, Agni and waste management experts, and Mangrove Society of India Mumbai chapter, which I am representing. I'm representing both the sides because I had equal interest in waste management as well, starting from 95 and being involved with decentralized waste management. And 2005 is when the landmark Bombay High Court judgment comes up, protecting mangroves and coastal areas. By this time, Kanjur has already been allotted, like we put up that post-it note. Now, these are minutes from the 2006 Mangrove Society of India Mumbai chapter meeting. These are all which are records in my hard disk.
You see, the
Uh,
plugins are taking a while to load. Kind of freezes frozen midway through the transition for some reason.
so
Try
should I pause after transitioning?
try going ahead and coming back. And maybe that may solve.
Is this
Now
fine?
it is showing.
Yeah. Can you see the minutes?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I have highlighted the relevant first point. There are, I think, almost 10, 15 points of discussion. But this is very important that I'll read it ad verbatim. That the issue of Kanjurmarg dumping ground was raised by Mr. Kurian and Mr. Sharma and Mrs. Gokhale, Sharvari Gokhale, who's the then Secretary Environment Government of Maharashtra, informed that since the Supreme Court has given permission, we have to move the Supreme Court, we as in the concerned citizens. Regarding misrepresentation by the BMC, by incorrectly mentioning in their reply to the court that area is free of CRZ, she informed that the same needs to be brought to the notice of the court by the members. The members expressed their unhappiness that the Department of Environment would not accept that task. So we had specifically an expectation that this is the Department of Environment, not the Department of Revenue, not the Department of Commerce, anything else. And but they refused to take it up. So these are the. I mean, I would still say that 20 years back was still a great time. You could enter Mantralaya and interact. It's a very different era now. Everything is very politicized. So these are the minutes. I'll just. This would be difficult for me to read, but I'm highlighting this because this is extremely important within the High Court order. Please do go and read it online. I'll share the link separately. But this is the exact process uh, in that whole order which the Bombay High Court is taking support from. The manner in which the Kanjurmarg land gets allotted in 2003, 2005 order comes up, 2008 the divisional commissioner gives protected forest status. Within 1 year, the realization that this mistake is happening, if you read, I don't know whether the counter is coming, such mistake is capable of being rectified pursuant to Section 21 of the General Clauses Act. The rectification was not unilaterally done, which is point number G that I'm reading right now. The court had been approached, and by an order dated April 29, 2009, passed by the court in notice of motion in a public interest litigation, the state was told that if the state had committed a mistake in notifying the land, it was for the state to use its ample powers to undo the mistake without involving the court. So the court clearly put the ball back into the government of Maharashtra's court. Uh, Now, the contention of Vanashakti really is that the Forest Conservation Act, FCA of 1980, lays out an elaborate procedure that if there is a protected forest status to a particular plot of land, you cannot just on whims and fancies denotify it from protected to unprotected status. There's a long process. I won't get into the detail. That is the process which in point number 25, Mr. Parag Vyas is detailing. But long story short, what the government of Maharashtra said was that there was originally no forest on that plot of land as of 2000 or 2003. So there was a mistake in notifying it as a forest, and we are recorrecting that mistake in a 2009. That's all that we are doing. We're not damaging forest, nothing. And government of Maharashtra has merit in what they're saying because, like I've shown the photo from 2006, there are no forests. But this is the whole problem with our psyche that when we talk of environment, something like Rajasthan or a Thar desert is seen as a anomaly. Everything should be green. A grassy lawn is a good environment. Forests are a good environment. But the main bone of contention should have been that the Kanjurmarg land, as it is after the salt stopped being produced over there, was ecologically valuable, irrespective of forest. But that argument was not made. And so we have this long journey of 2013 till 2025. I'll just go next. This is subsequently, there is a minor intervention again by Vanashakti in 2014 questioning the boundary wall. That the boundary wall, uh, part of the boundary wall, BMC had extended. BMC, Vanashakti brought it to the note of the High Court. I'll just show the boundary wall again. 1 second. This is the boundary wall if you see in this picture. Vedant, is the picture visible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So this boundary wall was slightly extended on the left-hand side, if you see. And that boundary wall became a bone of contention, and the Supreme Court, the Bombay High Court, ordered its demolition, that boundary wall should be demolished. And there are a number of red blocks I've put over here, both Stalin and myself have been quoted. This is from June 2016. And both of us are saying essentially the same thing that where I'm saying that the boundary wall is really like the elephant's tail. The real big issue to be handled is that the dumping ground should not be there. The boundary wall extension is a minor matter. By this time, 2016, that whole site is completely devastated. PMC has been dumping more than 1,000 tons of raw garbage every day over there for 3 years. And there is nothing of that serenity which existed in 2006 when we took that walk. So these are the kind of absurdities in the Bombay High Court order of 2025 that the same High Court is hearing. In fact, below I have the first red block. I'll just quote it. On Friday, the Bombay High Court ordered the BMC to demolish the compound wall at the dumping ground. The wall was built illegally a few years ago, and then court The BMC, which otherwise holds the responsibility check on any illegal constructions, is itself engaging in illegal constructions, thus degrading ecological areas and mangroves, said Justice Sonak while announcing the order on Friday. I mean, how can it's bizarre. I mean, the real ecological destruction has happened because of 1,000 tons of raw mixed waste being dumped. How can a boundary wall take precedence over that matter? And subsequently, in 2017, I'm just relying on newspaper headlines because I'm saying these should have some value, right? I mean, I honestly, I don't have stopped paying any attention to papers. I treat it's a waste of newsprint. It's another environmental issue. But now that these news have been created, uh, this should be as a timeline and markers. The headline says BMC ups dumping capacity at Kanjurmarg from 1,000 tons. This was the year when they started taking capacity up to 3,000 tons. That article can be read online, and that's another illuminating article. But you can see the state of affairs in that photo. Uh, Now we'll go away from the Bombay High Court order. I have been fortunate or unfortunate to be part of this long trajectory. It's exactly 30 years now that I've been with the waste management trajectory in Mumbai. And I call the 1995 to 2005 phase as the golden phase in Mumbai's waste management journey. I mean, we were doing brilliant work that time, and the Bombay High Court, Supreme Court, all were continuously aware of that trajectory. They were involved at places. Just none less than Justice Chandrachud, who just retired as Chief Justice. He was at Bombay High Court in 2003, 4, 5. He sat over some of these orders. And there was a clear realization that we need to stop this business of dumping grounds. And numerous institutions and citizens have proven very well that decentralized waste management is not just desirable but possible. I mean, these are not people who are sitting in armchairs and academics and who are studying carbon nitrogen ratios and methane and so many things. These are people, practitioners, hard, and very talented people. There were people like Shantu Shanai, very talented engineers who left everything, got obsessed with this waste management business, demonstrated. There are 10, 20, 30 other people, which would be a separate exercise in noting over here. There's enormous amount of effort in the first decade. And this is the same municipal corporation which has unfortunately completely kind of sabotaged a lot of these work. And it has been continuously in violation of rules throughout these 25 years. And this is what the Bombay High Court has actually jurisdiction over and can easily take cognizance and pass orders, but it goes ahead and passes that kind of illogical order of May 2025. Yeah, this is just I'm taking as a namesake thing. This is an article headline from March 2013, the same time that Kanjurmarg is becoming active and BMC is setting this up. And this, I mean, the if you Google, there is just enough amount of commentary on everything that BMC has been doing wrong. And this is exactly what we've been saying, that this is not how waste should be collected. This is a community bin in Lower Parel, a favorite of mine. Uh, the whole idea of segregation into different colors and codifying, all of that has been wasted because what you see is the bottom right, that these green color 120 or 240-liter wheelie bins have become the popular method. People just put everything together into one bin. The BMC truck comes, collects it, and takes it to consumer. And this is not tenable. This is not sustainable. This is again from all the records that I maintain, whatever little. The February 2006, an NGO called Clean Sweep, along with All India Institute of Local Self-Government, came out with a 10-year analysis of the advanced locality management movement, which started in 1996 in Mumbai, in Ghatkopar East. And this effectively, the movement started as a response to the Surat plague. After the 1994 Surat plague, there was a kind of wave of consciousness where people said that yes, waste management is important and we'll take a responsibility. And the Joshi Lane ALM, which started in 1996, started with I think 13 residents, And so it became a movement, subsequently being codified by the BMC itself. The idea was that a few cluster of buildings could come together and implement segregation at source and also look at composting either through home composting, building composting, or community composting. And it would also take care of its dry waste collection separately and sell it to scrap dealers. And the ALM was supposed to be registered with BMC. At its peak, there were 700 ALMs which were successfully working. And this is a summary of that report. The actual report is quite big, but the summary itself is very good. So Clean Sweep, Priya Ubali over there and Mr. A.K. Jain at All India Institute, they together compiled and brought out the enormous amount of success which ALMs had in diverting waste from dumping grounds and the need to strengthen it. Because by the time this report came, it was already 5 years of BMC through surreptitious means trying to keep not cooperate with ALMs and people leaving people frustrated. And 2005 is a landmark year because this is where the ILNFS public-private partnership model started rolling out with the then additional commissioner, R.A. Rajiv. So this is all happening simultaneously. It is during that 2005 to 9 period that Gorai dumping ground got decommissioned, Kanjurmarg got allotted. Numerous other developments happened, but everything aimed towards centralized waste management, which was against the law of the land because by 2000 the municipal solid waste management rules had already come. Now, this is just I'm giving an example of some of the progressive buildings which we have. This is my favorite Marathon era in Lower Parel, where giant broker, like a madman, completely obsessed with waste, he manages the waste of 235 families in that tower. And I don't think anything goes to Kanjurmarg or Devna dumping ground. This has been happening consistently for 10 years. Everything gets the dry waste is into 10 different categories. Food waste gets composted, composters used within the building or sent to others. I think maybe some uh, domestic hazardous waste might be going to the DMC facilities, but otherwise there are numerous buildings which in Mumbai are demonstrating that becoming zero waste is possible. There are a lot of constraints, and each of those constraints can be answered. The purpose of this webinar is not to get into those constraints. Some people don't have space, some are genuinely afraid of diseases and odor, a lot of other things, but all of that can be handled. Now, this is another point which I want to talk about, that in the Kanjurmarg order, the Bombay High Court is saying shift the dumping ground somewhere else and create a mangrove forest, recreate a mangrove forest. So this is since 20 years. Almitra Patel has spoken about it. I've spoken about it enormously that once a site is ecologically devastated, do not recreate ecology over there. Use that site for progressive waste management. So, because land is scarce, you won't get, instead of taking new land, you're better off repurposing. And I'm just taking a case study of Gorai dumping ground. This is Gorai dumping ground in 2006 when you are at the Gorai jetty. And then that was the time. And when I was involved with Mangrove Society of India, this is a photo taken by me. This was a huge mountain of garbage in 2006. By 2010-11, the photograph on the left, uh, this is another extremely unfortunate thing. On the right hand side is this whole misleading claims by the Bombay Municipal Corporation, then Additional Commissioner R.A. Rajiv, that we will do carbon credits and we will cover the whole Gorai dumping ground with a plastic lining that will create methane. We will generate the methane and get electricity and carbon credits and whatnot. And our contention was that all the methane has already escaped after you shut down the dumping ground in 2007. Whatever organic matter was there has already decomposed. There are 2 or 3 monsoons which have gone by. Ev- every single bit of methane has left it and gone away. There's nothing to harvest and get carbon credits. And this is exactly what happened. That's separate. You can go online. It was a complete embarrassment for the municipal corporation when they couldn't get even a few thousand tons of methane from that town. But in the process, 72 crores of public money had already been wasted. And this is where I'm just going through another some flashbacks that the Gorai dumping, this is 2005 headline. The residents wanted a nature park over there. Nature park didn't come up. On the right is a presentation, which separately is a long presentation. But I'm covering a trajectory from Almitra Patel's suggestions for biomining. And this is my own personal favorite, which we put up in Instagram in 2022, that you can easily create a biomethanation facility at Gorai. If you're familiar, if you look at slide number 3 and the blue line, that everything from Bandra till the Hisar, all the food waste from restaurants, banquet halls, hotels, you can bring to Gorai, bake, make methane out of it, and supply it to the Gorai BST depot, which is right adjacent to it. So you can run some of your BST buses on bio CNG, and that would be true climate action. So this is the Mumbai climate action plan we already have. Uh, None of this is happening. Gorai is a wasted facility. Right now, it is lying like this with its absolutely no use. I think it's 100 odd acres. Yeah. Again, this is all coming from various prominent newspaper articles. The papers just decide to carry the Bombay Municipal Corporation announcements like a press release. Most of the times, of course, they are be critical at times, but not enough, I feel. And so this is all public record. Over the past 10 years, BMC has proposed these large biogas plants innumerable number of times, since 20 years, since PPP, ILNFS, RA Rajivira. Not any of them materializes. Again, another newspaper headline is saying 73% of cities' waste is biodegradable. BMC's own environmental report. Then why are you taking biodegradable waste to Kanj? Why aren't you separately doing it? This is also what the rules are saying. And these are the things which the Bombay High Court should be taking cognizance of, rather than trying to shut Kanjurmarg dumping ground, trying to recreate a lush mangrove forest over there. Now, this is January 2014. Enormous amount of inputs to the Mumbai development plan. These are the three people you see sitting over there are all BMC officials. On the left post is Mr. Prakash Patel, who is the chief engineer, solid waste management at BMC. Mr. Sitaram Kunte, the then municipal commissioner, was kind, gracious enough to create these subcommittees. I was part of the solid waste management committee, and along with Jyoti Mapsekar. And this whole video can be seen on YouTube. You can see the video and the presentation which has been made by me. I'm just going to go through the key input in that. That these are the map of the wards of Mumbai. That time 24, now 26 wards. And if you're familiar, then all our dumping grounds are situated in M West and M East ward, Kanjurmarg, Devnar, etc. So we are saying that the whole idea was that maximum amount of waste, treat each ward as a city unit. Just as Mumbai will not send its waste to Pune or to Kalyan Dombivli or to Virar. Similarly, any of our wards should not send their waste to another ward. So the municipal corporation, I don't follow the budget right now, maybe it's still 2000 crores, maybe it is more, was using its ample budget to give these contracts to truck companies to dump waste. We are saying use that same money, set up ward-wise facilities, training, whatever it needs. And it is our experience, everybody who's in waste management with a little bit of carrot and danda, every single building can be made to comply with segregating waste at source. And then subsequently you can set up composting or biogas facility. It could be micro, medium, or large, that's separate. And set up adequate material recovery facilities in each ward. Nothing should go to Kanjur or Devnar. After that is when we see an aggressive rollout of BMC's dry waste tempo service. So all of these on the left is the gate of one of the biggest dry waste facilities, which handles, I think, 20 tons of dry waste every day. The specific tempos started, circulars started, and asking buildings to separately give their. This is also the time when the property tax notification from BMC comes up, which has been a fiasco. Every single building, including Giant Brokers, Marathon Era, which I showed you, when they went to apply a 5% tax rebate in the property tax, were frustrated so much that they just said that we don't want to come back again asking for this rebate. So these are the things again which the High Court needs to be taking into note. Now, this is just a representative picture that this is all so segregated dry waste, which is collected in dry waste management centers. This is not mixed with food waste and smelling badly. And this is how the waste should be managed. Now, this is another big area of shame for the municipal corporation. Again, a place where Bombay High Court can amply enter and do something. The Swachh Mumbai Prabodhan Abhiyan started in 2013, but there is a precursor to that called as the Dattak Vasti Yojana. Now, anywhere in slums you go, this is the scenario that you will see, that people will put all their waste and come and throw it at a community bin. Sometimes they're throwing it into nalas, which I'm covering in the subsequent slide. And this is how sometimes if your backside is to a nala, you just put it into a plastic thing and you throw it because there's no municipal facility. What BMC is saying is that these are people who are not paying taxes, so we cannot give them a proper service. Or beach cleanups are happening, which is a craze which drives me crazy. Just today morning, a friend called and said she was at Warsaw with the beach cleanup. This is the quotation can be ascribed to me. This is what I spoke in 2017. Plug the leak, don't mop the floor. If you're going to a beach cleanup, you're as good as mopping the leak, you're mopping the floor. Your bathroom tap is leaking. Instead of fixing it, you're just mopping your own house. So it's very illogical. Uh, then this is, but beach cleanups are a rage. Ask people to get involved with policy. This is policy. This is BMC's website on Swachh Mumbai Prabodhan Abhiyan. Ample amounts of funds get allocated for waste collection in slums. What happens to those funds is what the court should be inquiring. Every citizen should be inquiring. Dattak Vasti Yojana, which was the precursor, got closed down because of huge amount of corruption in that scheme. So I'm coming to the end of the webinar. I'm saying this whole matter pertains just as a snapshot to the Kanjur waste facility, which is set up in this village. And the land under dispute was used for salt cultivation from 1950 onwards, and the lease expired in 2000 or 2003. And after that, through due process of law, the Kanjurmarg dumping ground was facilitated in 2003. That time itself, it should not have come for other reasons, but now that it has come, uh, the moot points for us is that how can a facility which is operating for 10, 15 years, accepting so much of waste, be shut down overnight or on 3 months? And the second point, which is important for me, why pass orders which are just not tenable? It's a massive waste of time and resources. I mean, imagine all those affidavits and counter affidavits and petitioners' time and the fees to the lawyers. I mean, if you try to do something progressive, ask any of our good NGOs, they're struggling to even hire one full-time program officer. And here you want to engage advocates and counsels and this and that. And the real leverage where Bombay Municipal Corporation can pull up the municipal corporation is not carrying out waste management which adheres to the rules. But it's completely absent on that front. Commissioner after commissioner comes and goes, and nothing happens. Uh, so I think the implications of orders like 2nd of May 2025 is that it reduces the effectiveness of the judicial approach. I mean, which is something I've been saying since 20 years, not just in waste management, in mangroves and RA and everywhere that these are not issues which can be solved by putting PILs. It is amply demonstrated now in the Kanjur case. The PIL has offered absolutely no relief. You have to engage with your municipal corporations and work on the governance, which is the dirty, messy part, which nobody wants to do, and make elected representatives and officials responsible. But you need a certain amount of critical mass of citizens coming together. That critical mass never comes about. And I can, in a sense, sympathize with Vanashakti or any of our environmental groups, which out of desperation ends up filing PIs because you don't see enough number of citizens. I mean, if you see the scenes yesterday or day before outside the iPhone 17 launch in BKC, it's a riot. People are climbing over each other to get a phone worth 1 lakh rupees or more. There's no such right in citizens to have waste management rules, and that's why people have to do it. But the second point is that there's no point in doing all of this, anyways, because the environmental side has a very bad name. It is seen as people who have nothing better to do, and they're obstructionists. And instances like these, also they're seen like people who are Luddites, who are a bit less intelligent, and instances like these just provide more fuel to that perception. And the third point, which is really equally important, that we are making no progress through see this kind of PILs or through these kind of orders. We are making no progress through to real solutions. The real solutions are effective waste management in our slum areas, which is possible. How effective waste management in all our residential tax-paying colonies and buildings, 100% possible. Setting up material recovery facilities adequately, giving huge amount of support for composting, completely possible. I myself compost at home, and my frustration is not bad odor or worms, etc. My frustration is how do I keep clearing the compost so that I can reuse my facility again. So these are the real solutions for which BMC is not been doing anything, and Bombay High Court is unfortunately not being facilitating. So that's it. Thank you, and yeah, we're close to an hour. Like we can have some amount of interaction, and I hope I made some sense. Vedant, you raised your hand.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a question. So since 1949 to I think when was the lease you mentioned for the salt pan land?
The lease was 1949 till 2000.
So you're saying between that period, the land it was a salt pan land. At no point it had mangroves present over there.
Nothing, nothing. I don't know what was there before 1949.
Okay.
So yeah, but that is not really worth engaging in that thing. But between 1949 and 2000, I should have actually carried a slide which showed the current Bhandup salt pan land. So it was absolutely flat and salt was being harvested.
Yeah, it's kind of a confusing understanding that the court itself also has about what consists of a forest. Like you mentioned, like lush green forest is only considered as a forest, not a grassland or a salt pan land or a kind of a flat land. It's a little disconcerting.
No, no, absolutely. And the thing is ecological value. Ecological value can come even in barren Thar desert. It has ecological value.
Yeah.
But this is, and that's where you see misguided schemes like people want to green the Thar desert, Aravallis, just leave things as they are. But yeah, Dipti was asking a question.
Yeah, I actually just want to first of all thank you so much for in 50 minutes what you have done. I did not expect that I would be receiving this. I don't have the words for it basically. I mean, this kind of a history of things, to be able to capture it all so concisely and beautifully. Thank you so much. Um, Couple
Pleasure.
of other things.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so I just want to share that at Vasant Oasis, because it's a large society of about 2,500, maybe 2,800 flats, I am trying from the very other end, right? Like as a citizen, what can you do? You've shared examples of the Lower Parel Society, and there are various other people who've done this, at where they are. So I'm doing precisely that, but because it's a large society, and now I have gathered a few like-minded people, and through the Mumbai Donut collab, I know there are enough people who really care about this issue. And just like the example you gave of that gentleman, they're willing to take the time. Um, and so that is one part. I just wanted to share that there are people, and if they had, like, I was thinking with our managing committee here, I've never really known, who can I bring in front of them, and it will be a very compelling kind of. Uh, um, I mean, it's worth their time too, because and the kind of perspective, gravitas that you will be able to bring in. I don't even know if it's worth your time to meet them, because the level at which you are, I mean, you have been working. Um, but but there are various things which really kind of connected, and I've heard about ALMs and how they have died out and the need to bring them back. I just feel that it's almost like, one generation has really been at it, and now it's time for the, not just the next generation, but the next few generations to kind of step in, the people who are interested to get the perspective, and then continue to carry forward along with you the work, um, because it is long-term work. One of the big questions that comes to my mind is, do we really need BMC in the picture? Because somewhere, just because they are the municipal corporation and they have the decision-making authority and they have the budget, but they are also saddled because it's not waste that they are creating, right? So how can we take the power back and create the decentralized system that we want to, without having to rely on them? Is kind of the thought that, uh, in a very naive way, but I want to put out for people to think about. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's broadly what is coming to my mind. So I just wanted to share.
No, good. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. And I'll address the latest first. That this would be the ideal world, right? Where you would have entire Vasant Oasis, 2000, 2,800 odd families being so concerned that they don't need to rely on. And I'm not just talking, I'm just taking Vasant Oasis as an example. This could be Oberoi Splendor on JVLR,
Yeah.
Kalpataru, anywhere. Whole of Marol has now big colonies, Bhavani Nagar, Vijayanagar, that nobody is, and this is the other big bone of contention. I mean, something which that this, I mean, so many people are interested in climate issue, right? This is a climate issue. Instead of being interested in climate and what is going to happen at COP30 and what the British did and what Americans are doing, etc. But we never end up getting that critical mass, which is also what I said in the second last slide, that a lot of times environmental groups out of frustration file PIs. In an ideal scenario, all 2,000 people in Vasant Oasis would feel concerned, come together, and ample amount of knowledge is there. They can call technical experts. But that's not happening in an ideal world. And because it's not an ideal world, we form associations like PMC organization, a government framework. Now, the unfortunate thing is that those frameworks themselves get corroded and sabotaged by vested interests. And so, both ways, environmental work is not happening, neither by uh, the individual consciousness rising, neither by the government authorities working. But and then that brings me to the first part which you said, that it's worth the effort for even 100 people within Vasant Oasis to carry on with this effort. And it's always a very uphill task. Like Giant Broker I mentioned, I mean, you remove him from that equation in that building, everything collapses. Next day, everybody will start mixing their waste and everything will start going mixed to BMC, or at least 50% of waste will immediately. So it's always going to be these few people who will have to hold for.
Right. So, what I mean by sort of, um, like, I'm trying to just understand that where, so BMC, basically everybody will work based on what suits their interests, right? The people who care are also feeling, um, the need for this, or they care because of a reason. There is some personal satisfaction, self actualization, whatever it is that we may derive from the work. Whereas for BMC, there are enough people who will, for whom, the financial incentive is what matters. And also, I honestly feel that, I mean, for them, it is, um, since, I mean, the BMC is also not a person, right? It is a body. So
Yeah.
I'm totally with you in terms of the work needing to happen on the governance side, and more people uh, sort of getting involved. And maybe one small start, and Manas has been talking about this, is to actually get media people, and if they were to hear you, and from them, there may be a small fraction who genuinely care about solid waste management or start to care about it, right? Can we then use that as a way for right now what is coming out? uh, I don't even know if it's really about more, and it won't be one thing, but yeah, can we take small steps forward um, in the directions that you pointed are the gap, by, yeah, I think that uh, I tend to want to
So
jump into action, so I'm thinking of what next we can do.
no, no, absolutely. So see, the what next is very clear that uh, we need to do a ward level analysis, which is something which we started at Mumbai Sustainability Center in 2017 itself. And unfortunately, that map is not there. We had called that program as Guiding Lights, and the Google Map interface is still there. We had mapped buildings across Mumbai which are doing progressive waste management practices, and we'd call them guiding lights. So this was a guiding lights program, and we felt that once you put it on a map and it is available on a website, then a lot of people who are interested but are either looking for inspiration or technical help would immediately know. So like in Lower Parel, within a 2 kilometer radius, there might be buildings which don't know that Marathon Era is doing this. The moment they see it on a map and a contact person and a phone number, they reach out that, okay, can you please, can I come and visit your facility, see how you're doing it, what other challenges can be implemented. So we need to make this kind of a, which is also what at Donut Lab the your effort is, and which is also laudable, that get people together, enable knowledge transfer, accelerate the process of capacity building, and that's it. And not everybody in BMC is bad, and there are enough number of, there are almost 600 junior overseers. So on a ward wise basis, you have almost 20 to 30 municipal staff who are specifically looking into waste management. These junior overseers are empowered to issue notices to buildings which are not segregating waste at source, but that get rarely gets used. I've done it myself 20 years back, even till 10 years back, going with them, observing building dustbins, and I don't have the mandate to issue a notice. They have the mandate, they immediately issue a notice. If after one notice, two notice, three notice, nothing happens, and they have the power to fine. If subsequently also nothing happens, they have the power to issue a notice to appear in the court. So all of those tools exist. And the media thing, I think there's been enormous amount of coverage about the issue and our efforts in the past 25 years. I mean, I personally have spoken to generations of journalists. A lot of people, a lot of them are not even in journalism right now. They've moved to PR or just retired. But it's an effort which needs to be done continuously. It's an effort which will till past 25 years, some of us were doing it. Next 25 years, somebody else will do it. But the educating the media is continuous, and yeah, these efforts have to continue.
Sure. So, since you know Manas and Shweta, could I organize a call between us and figure how we can start supporting what you have been doing now for a long time?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, see, honestly, I'm not as active as before, and I've been actually kind of saying no a lot of times to things. I mean, I get triggered and then I jump in. So this is actually the High Court order was really a very bad personal trigger for me, and unfortunately, that shouldn't happen. In Mumbai Sustainability Center, the capacity for me, the effort for me right now is to see how I can ease out and more people can come in. And Safai Bank of India is something which I just keep focusing on right now. But yeah, I mean, it's good to have a conversation. I've been telling Manas and Shweta since some time that we should meet and discuss. So I'll be happy to join in that conversation.
Sure, sure. So I'll facilitate that and set it up.
Great. Yeah, yeah. And good luck with your efforts at Vasant Voices. I mean,
Thank you
Ravi,
so much.
yeah, yeah. Ravi keeps sharing his frustration at times at such a large society and it's unwieldy and all of that. So it's the usual challenges.
Yeah, but it's really through the people. I mean, I for 3 4 years felt I wanted to go door to door and tell people, but there was no locus standi. But now with the management committee backing, and that's just for 3 out of 20 towers. But there are other people who also care, and slowly I do. I'm hopeful that it will spread. Plus, what you said that through a combination of carrot and stick. So it's still very early days for me in my journey, but it also fills me with hope that yeah, this is actually possible. So can
No,
you
no, it's 100% possible.
yeah, can you share a little bit about the Safai Bank of India, what they do?
I'll send the details separately to you.
Sure,
I'll email it to you.
sure. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You can check the Instagram handle also, but I'll send the details.
Sure, I will do that.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Ruchika, I think you dropped out and then came back. I don't know how much of the presentation you saw, but we've recorded it and we'll upload it soon. Ha, Vedan.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring 2 points up. One of my relatives lives in Gansoli, right off of Kanjurmarg dumping ground, and I think whenever the winds are westerly or it's like stagnant winds, you get this smell, oniony, garlicky, decomposing smell. It's the stench is like terrible. First, I used to think that this smell is coming from the sewage treatment plant that was right besides their house, but apparently not. It comes 7 8 kilometers across the entire creek, and you can smell all of it. That kind of brings me to another point that so BMC sends all of this dumping waste material to MWard and Kanjurmarg. MWard itself is one of the poorest locations in the city. Worst human development index, apparently worse than African nations, some of the African nations. Same happens with TMC's, Thane Municipal Corporation's waste, which goes to Diva. Thane does not have to bother about their waste. It comes all the way to Diva and Mumra. Every winter morning, the entire area is covered in smog. The dumping ground is on fire multiple times. The dumping ground itself is spilling on to the Desai Creek, and all of the wetlands over there are being gobbled up. We in KDMC limits have some kind of segregation. We have a separate days for it. So only on Wednesdays and Sundays, wet waste is picked up. It differs for societies within our locality. I feel, as far as I know, I don't know if this segregation that we are doing at our houses actually is leading to some higher level segregation, or is it mixing up and then going to the dumping ground. For KDMC, I know that they shut down the dumping ground at uh,
Adharwadi.
Adharwadi. Yeah, the what is the fourth name? I forgot the fourth. But now it has moved to Raite, which is slightly further out in the outskirts of Kalyan. I have been tracking its satellite imagery for a while. It feels like it just keeps on expanding. Like I assume if a dumping ground if waste is actually being segregated, there won't be so much need to actually dump it. There would be a lot of resources coming out of it. Two things. I mean, first thing, mein toh it's. I mean, we need to see it as a equity issue as well. Ki like you just are sending it somewhere. And second is it. Is there a way to actually follow where your waste is going, other than asking your people like, is there some resource material? And also third thing that I remembered is there was a lot of noise that the BMC is trying to buy up some land in Ambernath to just move all of that waste to Ambernath, which will be how many kilometers, 40, 50 kilometers of journeys for trucks from all the way from Borivali, Dahisar, and all going all the way to that location. It seems dumb now that it's happening. So no rational society would let this kind of uh, waste transfer happen across the city. Just imagine the amount of congestion that is going to cause at the bridges at Vashi and all. If you completely leave aside the health and all of those issues which will exist at Ambernath and all of these dumping grounds.
So, absolutely. I mean, very good points. And the last one, that Ambernath dumping ground, that whole idea came up after the 2016 fire at the Devna dumping ground. And I was vociferously opposed to it. I mean, it was on first principles. I mean, which is what the first principles right from 1996 Almitra Patel PIL, and which have been embodied very well in the Burman Committee report and the 2000 Municipal Solid Waste Management Rules. The first principles are clear. We will stop relying on dumping grounds and creating new dumping grounds. Simple. This is not my words. These are our collective words which have been embodied in those reports. Uh, and then to see in 15 years this whole talk of a gigantic new dumping ground for Mumbai. It's on equity, so many other principles that violates every single SDG. Uh, so it's not advisable at all. And to your point, second point which you raised was that who's monitoring and how do we get to know? See, this is where the whole, I mean, in 2017, again under MSC, we had for almost 2 months, and there was I'm forgetting the name of that intern. She was doing law, and we had started a program called Garbage Watch. I mean, originally Garbage Watch was thought of me in 2010 as an all India endeavor, but then we came down to a detailed forensic analysis of just the municipal corporations in the MMR region. So under Garbage Watch, the idea would be to be very closely auditing municipal performance. What is the budget of each municipal corporation? How it is being spent? How much on admin costs? How much on project costs, contracts? And also benchmarking with the waste management rules. That never ended up coming. In fact, Kirti Shah, I think we had spoken before I mentioned to you. We'd approached him for funding. It didn't come. I was upset, disappointed. Uh, Again, this is something idea which I'm leaving for Dipti also, everybody, that this kind of adventure needs to be kind of crowd sourced, crowd worked upon, where we can get 10 college interns, people who are doing masters in sustainability or any other thing, who work together and do this forensic analysis. And that's the only way you can get to know uh, what's happening with your waste, where is it going. This is quite cumbersome, spending time with BMC and
At some point,
and
I
just getting
feel
all the
like just dumping a GPS tag in my garbage and see where it lands up at the end.
see broadly you would know where it goes, but yeah, for those kind of things should be done, right? I mean, uh, that broadly they will converge at 5 or 6 or 10 locations,
Yeah.
and all of those locations will be a messy place. It shouldn't come up over there. And also the waste to energy plant at Daigar, I think there was a plan for that waste to energy plant. The whole Desai Creek, Ulas, Diva, Mumra, it's so dear to me. Just the scenic and landscape beauty of that whole region and how over the past 20, 30 years it's been kind of destroyed, and the Diva dumping ground itself. And this whole smell business, I mean, imagine it's going up to Gansoli everywhere. That whole radius has that smell. And instead of Vanashakti filing that PIL, it should have actually been 1,000, 2,000 residents coming together and saying that it's unacceptable. I mean, it might not be a daily occurrence, but I'm saying even if 100 days in a year, there are 10,000 families in that area who are affected by that terrible stench. We all know how bad it is. Then it should have become a much bigger issue than one environmental NGO approaching the courts and then ending up losing, kind of a thing. Okay, so should we end the call? Yes, okay. Thank you. So, Vedant, will you end the recording? Which one is it? Thanks, Yoko. I'll see you at 3 p.m. today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.